shall be preached into all the world and unto all the nations. That word nations right there is a very important thing that we have to understand. So now we have a timeline. Now this is our first real thing that says something. When the gospel has been preached to all, the word there, peoples, was ethnos. All ethnicities. In other words, all tribes, all people. When this happens, this is when it starts. Right now, I was reading a thing called the Joshua Project. There are 8.08 billion people in the world. There are 3 billion peoples or tribes that have not been spoke to yet. The world has been preached, the gospel has been preached and has been seen in all countries right now. There's not a country that the gospel of Christianity has not been preached to, but there are still 3 billion people that have not heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. And they are within this narrow band of countries that is, if they hear you preaching in this area, it's going to divide it. But that is the first one. When we hit this right here, it becomes dangerous. But we're not there yet. Verse 15, this is the most important one, because this is the true sign. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. In other words, when the abomination causes desolation, we're going to get to this. This is where it happens. Because what happens, the abomination of desolation, what's going to happen there is that he's talking about the holy temple. There is this thing, I was watching this interview this morning about this, and it was talking about the stance of the Catholic Church and the church leaders. And they will not, they do everything in their power to keep the plans for rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. None. In other words, they say absolutely not. Because once that happens, it's real. So before the abomination of desolation, in other words, before the beast can stand in the temple, and he does something in the temple, and it says that he stops all sacrifices. So they had to have a temple first. Before they had a temple, now remember, we're building a timeline. So these are things to watch for. These are things to watch for. So what we're looking for is for him to stand in the temple, Emily, what has to exist first? A temple. There is the foundation for the temple right now, but the Jews say, well, we let the Muslims do it, and we have our spot there, and right now, to keep the peace, we don't want to disturb anything, so we're not going to have any plans right now to build the temple. But you'll find out that before the temple is built, the Jews make a covenant with someone. This covenant, because in Daniel you'll find out that the beast breaks the covenant. So in other words, the covenant in Daniel he spoke about, it's 7 days. And in the middle of the 7 days, he breaks the covenant. The 7 days is interpreted as 7 years. I'm going to try to wrap this up, pull it together so you can understand this thing. They said that, Lance, if they started today, it would take a little bit over 3.5 years or so to build the temple. 1 year to 3.5 years to get everything ready. So prior to this, there is a person or a country that goes in, because a person is not going to have authority enough. He has to have an army behind him, Dar. Does that make sense? So this person who is a leader of a country is going to go to Israel and then they're going to make a covenant. There is a group right now, and there is a company in Israel that is called Covenant Industries. And they are manufacturing rocket systems, believe it or not. I was checking that out this morning. So what's going to happen is that a very powerful country, is going to go to Israel and say, hey, I want to come into covenant. So I did the research this morning asking, has the United States made a covenant with Israel? We've not. When you see the signs of the covenant being formed, you will hear someone says, hey, we've been hearing it all of our life that the United States has to back Israel. But we've not made a covenant. Somebody is going to rise up. Someone is going to suggest, let's sign a covenant with Israel. Let's make a holy covenant with Israel. When the holy covenant happens, the next thing that they're going to agree to, because again, the timeline breaks when the beast stands in the temple and he says, stop all sacrifices to God because I am God. When that happens, now the proverbial all crap is getting ready to break loose. So what we have to look for, this is a sign that we have to look for. This is a sign that we have to train our children and our children's children to look for the covenant of peace. Somebody is going to arise. They're going to say, enough wars. It's time for peace. It is time to stop all this hostility. Whomever is making that or is behind that is going to be the one who starts all that and who's going to be the one who arises from all this. Y'all see all this, right? Because what happens is he creates a covenant. They build a temple. Once the temple is built, in the middle of the process of their peace, he will go into the temple and he will proclaim himself as God. The thing you have to understand here is that when that happens, because this is the Son of God who said that. When that happened, he said, when you see that happen, he says, run. Run. Now see, this is where a lot of people, and I was watching this thing that was talking about this morning. This is where a lot of people, and I have heard people say this. We as Christians won't have to go through the tribulation. Jesus is going to come back and get us before then. We won't have to endure this. That's not doctrine. Who was he telling to run? Why was he telling them to run? Because if they followed the beast story, what are they running from? He's telling the good people to run. You better have you an exit strategy. Because this is coming. You better have you an exit strategy of when this stuff happens. So when you start seeing this and you start preparing your kids for this, and they use the timeline of the introduction of the Baphomets and the introduction to all this other thing. Did you think about this thing? During the Olympics, what was the big controversy this year at the Olympics? What was it? Y'all remember? What did they make a mockery of? The Last Supper. They recently opened up a big tunnel over in Europe. A big tunnel. They just recently opened it up. And you know who they had celebrating? And what festival they used? A Baphomet celebration. And what it is, it talked about how all these people are introducing these things that you start associating these things with this is how, because this is who rules and this is who's governing, this is who's behind all these different things. And it's all this indoctrination of our kids to get these things to accept it. The cashless society is already here. We've already adopted this thing. The number system, all these other things are already in place. The big fight right now, and it's a worthy fight, but I'm going to tell you something. You're going to lose this fight. It's inevitable. Data centers. You're not going to win this fight. Long term, every community, Lance, will have a data center. As far as I was reading an industry trade, this thing about the industry right now, and it talks about tradespeople, and it's telling tradespeople to celebrate the introduction to the start building cycle of the AI centers, because it talks about all the infrastructure that has to be put in, and who's going to put all this stuff down? It's talking about tradespeople. They're going to come in there. They're going to be doing, that's going to be the prices of copper. Have y'all priced copper lately? I went and looked the other day. Amber wanted some butterfly feeders, Lance. And I was thinking, well, I just build them out of copper, and I put my little thing on the end of it, and they'll be kind of cool, and I'll have copper pipe sticking there. Because you used to buy copper pipe, and I remember laying out copper pipe. Do you know how much copper pipe is now? Crazy pipe. And I walked over there and I looked at this copper pipe and I was like, it's like 4 times as high as conduit. Guess what I use? Conduit. Copper pipe was stupid high. And they talk about how much is going to be needed for this. So plumbers, electricians, concrete guys, all these building trades are talking about this is going to be the best thing that's happened to this industry in a long time. And they're talking about the shortage because there's not enough people, there's not enough technicians to build all the AI centers. And so they're talking about all this work that's getting ready to happen and how many people they need to build all these data centers. And every community is going to have one. Every community. These are things that's coming. But according to Jesus, the thing that we have to worry about, because you notice he didn't even say that. He lets John talk about that in detail. But what Jesus said to pay attention to, the big thing that we have to start looking for and watching for, what signs do we need to worry about? Jesus told him the signs you need to worry about. The big one is that you're not deceived. Watch about the false prophets. Watch all this thing happen. But the huge one, Emily, is that covenant. When you see talks of covenant, and you will see it. Y'all will probably see it in y'all's lifetime. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. I don't think that we'll see it in my lifetime because the timeline isn't there yet.
No, we got ways to go.
But when you start seeing, because the covenant has to happen, the temple has to be rebuilt. When you start seeing Israel building the third temple, when you see notice of that, I was checking right now this morning and looking at it and saying, okay, does anybody have plans for this? There's no official plans. As a matter of fact, like I said, the Catholic Church doesn't even want that even on the radar. Because everyone knows that when that happens, that has to happen. Because without that happening, the abomination, they say, well, he's talking about the church, and the Catholic, one guy even had the interpretation that the holy place that he's talking about is that it has to do with a false pope, how he comes in as that one world religion. I'm inclined for that one, but that's not what he talks about. He talks about the holy place. And the holy place is not in Rome, it's not in the Vatican. The holy place is in Jerusalem, at the site of the original temple of God. When that is being done. Because what's going to happen, why they don't want to do it right now, because they don't want to start another war in Israel. But when somebody says, I don't care that we start another war. I'll back you up. They will be our common enemy from now on. And when Israel has enough guns behind them, and they say that, and then they start building on that mound right there, because that's the one that God said, even Jesus said, that this will all happen right there. We're going to be looking at other things, and we need to have an awareness of what's coming. The most important thing that we can have is an exit strategy. What do we have to do, Dar? And as I opened it up this morning, I know, it don't feel it today, Dory, but I know that winter's coming.
Yep.
I know it's coming. And the sooner, just like, okay, yesterday, Friday, was the first day that I drove my van after dark. It ain't dark when I get home. It was dark Friday by the time I got home. Well, it was dark Friday by the time I got home. But the thing is that it's the first time I drove my van after dark. David, you know what I discovered? I got one headlight pointing 2 foot down in front of me, And I'm thinking, so now I know that I got to fix my headlights. It never dawned on me that my headlights were not aimed right. That's my pet peeve, is having headlights that are not aimed. If you got headlights and they look like goggle eyes or look like somebody, eyeballs everywhere, I want my headlights level and out where I can see them. That's what I want to be able to see. Why is that important? Because I know that it's going to be getting dark again, and Amber hates it at 5 o'clock. I will be traveling at dark. Do we wait to put new windshield wipers on the day after it rains? Most of us do. One of these days, we're going to learn to be proactive. We're going to start getting this thing in order, in line. And as I was praying about this thing, I was like, God, help me to understand. He says, get your house in order. Get your house in order. It is time now, David, for me to get my house in order. He starts with the spiritual house. Then he connects to the physical house. Get your spiritual house in order, because you need to be able to see these things, Artie. You have to be able to see these things. You have to have an understanding. Don't get wrapped up, because I was watching a guy and he was talking about this, how this is going to be, this is going to be. I'm like, that's not scriptural. That's not scriptural. If it doesn't line up, they're going to use these things to move you emotionally, to scare you. Even Jesus said, he said, you're going to hear one guy say, oh, he's out there in the desert speaking. He's over here. And he says, no, that's not how I said I'm coming back. He even told him exactly how he's going to be coming back. And he says, until you see that sign and how it appears, I ain't there.
That's right.
That's the wrong guy. Everybody will know. And it's really funny, because it's talking about how when the beast makes his proclamation, it could never have happened until our generation. And you know why? Because now they have the emergency broadcast system on every phone. They can hack into every phone simultaneously at one time and make the announcement to all people. What's really scary, and I was reading about this and I hadn't even considered this aspect of it. Do you realize that when you agree to take the chip, because the chip's already coming, it's already here, the Bible says that if you take that chip, Dory, you don't go to heaven. And he's talking about the importance of training our grandkids and our children to don't take the chip. Whatever you do not get that chip embedded in you. Because the Bible specifically says, you won't go to heaven. You won't realize the implications of what you've just done. You've been marked. And we've got people right now that will take it and never consider it. They've already taken it. Exactly. And they talked about how COVID was an experiment to see how far they could push the people, to see how scared they could make them into doing the things, and how many people have become sick, died, and we don't know the full implication of everything that's been injected. But if you don't see that all these signs are pointing to a common denominator, that things are not right, things are happening, if you don't see it, then you need to see it, because it's here, it's real, it's right amongst us. Somebody dismiss us.
Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here today to hear the message that was brought forth. Lord, may we be alert to all these signs and these timelines that Monty was talking about, because your word says that this is going to happen. Lord, whether it happens in our time or whether it happens 100 years from now, nobody knows, but we know it's coming because your word said it is. God, let us leave here having this understanding, keep our house in order, not physically, but spiritually. Prepare for the seasons that are coming up. We have to prepare for the season. We don't need to wait till they get upon us and then we just can't do nothing then. Lord, allow us to always prepare our hearts, allow us to go in the way we're supposed to go. Stay away from the worldly ways. Stay away from being deceived by others as they come prophesizing your name, which is false. Just let us read your word. Your word tells us exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, Lord. And that's what we need to be concentrated on. Do not listen to the people of this world, the men of the world itself, because it will deceive you. And your word says that. Lord, we thank you for this day. Allow us to come back on another day. We ask this all in your precious name of your son, Yeshua. Amen.